Let's go to Winkle the Bernie Bro. Hi Dave, Winkle here. Just wanted to know if you at all see the same kind of voter shaming in Canada, what with PC winning on Ontario, as people do here in the States. Still so much shaming and blaming of third-party voters, not just for 2016, but even still for Nader in 2000. I imagine there's a lot less of it in Canada, but I'd like to hear your take. If you can get to my question, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. So, voter shaming? No. Do you see voter shaming here?
I feel like it's more of a media thing. Like what happens is the media will kind of say like, oh, the NDP is just like the Liberals, but they're just a little bit more radical. There's more of that trying to equate two parties as being equal, but one party just being a little bit more impractical. But I generally feel like people won't shame you if you vote NDP. And I think it's just because NDP does have power and the NDP has been able to, implement things like universal health care, and they've had, they've been the party of the opposition, and some of the most respected, like the most famous Canadian is Tommy Douglas, who was the leader of the third party, the NDP, and Jack Layton is another famous Canadian. So I don't think people shame people. I think it's more so the media carries this narrative of you're they're two different two types of parties that are basically the same. It's
Yeah.
generally
Yeah, I don't see voter shaming here. It's I mean, maybe it's because we have a legitimate third party, and legitimate as in a party that has actually won races. So the Green Party in the U.S., have they won anything? I mean, maybe there's a town council person somewhere that has won a Green Party seat, but for the most part, the Green Party is not looked at as a legitimate third party. But in Canada, we have at least three, and I would say now four legitimate parties. So we have the PCs, which are the Conservatives. We have the Liberals, the NDP, which is the Progressive Party, and the Green Party, which is also, I guess, more progressive party in some sense of the word, and at least in terms of the environment. So we have four parties here that are all recognized as legitimate parties. So I have maybe that's the reason there hasn't really been voter shaming here, but yeah, it's. I mean, even when Stephen Harper won in 2011, won his race, nobody was blaming the liberals or the liberal voters or the NDP voters for voting for their particular party. Even though if they had all voted for one party, they would have beaten Stephen Harper's party, Conservative Party. So it's actually I just realized I made a mistake. So I said there's the PCs. So we have the Progressive Conservatives, which are the PCs, the Conservative Party in Ontario, but federally it's the Conservative Party. So there is sort of a different name for some parties in the province compared to the party federally, but ultimately they're the same party. So yeah, so when Stephen Harper and the Conservatives won in 2011, nobody was blaming the Liberals or the NDP, their voters for voting. So it's it is definitely a weird thing to witness in the U.S., especially when you have these celebrities like Amber Tamblyn and who's the
that like co-host with Anderson Cooper. I forget her name. Kathy Griffith. Like I don't.
Kathy Griffin, yeah. Yeah, Kathy Griffin is doing a lot of that right now with voter shaming on. There was I saw a tweet where it was like three of these female celebrities ganging up on Susan Sarandon. Yeah, Deborah Messing. These three ganging up on Susan Sarandon. It was like it's like Mean Girls. Like it's just so ridiculous. Everybody, nobody should be shamed for voting the way you want to vote. I think anybody trying to do that is completely missing the point. The onus is on the party and the politician to get your vote. If they don't get your vote, that's their fault. You as a voter are allowed to vote for whoever the fuck you want. Now, some people can say, well, I think strategically it was dumb for you to vote a certain way. But to make that the focus, instead of focusing on, hey, maybe we should focus on the party and the politicians for trying to get out more voters, I mean, this to me is just obvious. You can't. It's a lot easier for especially people in media. it's a lot easier for people in media to put pressure on politicians and a party to change their ways than it is for a network, a media network, to try and change 300 million voters in the U.S. and try to change their minds in terms of how they vote. So the best we can do is inform people. So we put information out there, we talk about stories, try to inform people on what is going on what we believe the best policies are to put forward. But when it comes to the time to vote, I mean, that's on the party and the politicians. And if they don't win your vote, then that's their fault. This voter shaming thing to me is ridiculous. So, I mean, I ran as a Green Party MP candidate in 2015, but at the same time, I also, when it came to the 2016 general election in the U.S., personally, I thought it made more sense to vote for Hillary Clinton to avoid Donald Trump. But I'm able to do that. I'm able to be a Green Party candidate and also recognize that, hey, I think if it was me, I would have voted for Hillary Clinton. At the same time, if you voted Green Party, good for you. I don't care. That was your choice. I'm not going to shame you for voting a different way than what I did. I see the way I look at this, the way I look at electoral politics is that everything is a potential solution. So yes, we should be building the Green Party. At the same time, yes, we should also be voting in progressives into the Democratic Party. So there are different strategies you can take to try and achieve the policies you want. So I'm for an all the above approach. So if you want to vote Green, do that. If you want to support progressives in the Democratic Party, do that. The voter shaming thing is stupid. And Mary has something to say.
Oh, and just like in terms of voting third party in Canada, I don't think anyone in Canada at this point expects the third party to ever become like the leader of the third party is Jagmeet Singh. No one ever expects him to become prime minister, like at all. But the reason for voting him in would be so that he is the leader of the opposition, so that he has more, he has more power in Parliament to pass laws and oppose Trudeau, which is the center left party, and get more progressive policies in power. So I can understand if you're voting Green Party in terms of you want more, you want power to a third party in terms of, getting laws and legislation passed through. But I think the first step is to get someone elected, getting some power in terms of like Congress or Senate, or whether it's through, a progressive candidate that is endorsed by like DSA, like.
Yeah. So when it comes to Jagmeet Singh, I half agree with you. So I think, nobody expects him to be prime minister in the next election just because, right now, the real race somehow is between the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party. So, but I think that might change. Andrew Scheer is the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada, and he is just so terrible. He's so fake. He's over the top. He opposes every little thing Trudeau does. And look,
he's like Ted Cruz. Like that's just the
he very similar in terms of the ooziness and grossness of him. So I just don't. I think when people see him more, so the way a lot of Americans don't quite understand how elections work in Canada, there isn't this constant 24/7 hearing from all these party leaders and all these MPs and what's happening. A lot of people in Canada, I would say the majority of people in Canada, don't focus on politics until there's an election happening. And there's 3 months, our elections last 3 months, and that's when people actually pay attention. So right now, the Conservative Party is gaining in polling, but that's, I think, because a lot of people are seeing Trudeau a lot and aren't liking what he's doing. So in their minds, they go to the natural opposition, which is the Conservative Party. But once we get to an election and start seeing a lot of these party leaders, start seeing more of Andrew Scheer and more of Jagmeet Singh, people are going to recognize how slimy Andrew Scheer is. And I don't think it's going to help their party whatsoever. But that's my prediction. I think Jagmeet Singh, while I don't think he will be able to form a government in the next election, I think he will build the NDP's momentum into potentially winning in the next election. So there's a lot of chess happening right now, but it's all about making those steps to get into a position where you can potentially form government in the future. Hey, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button below and consider throwing me a few bucks on Patreon at patreon.com/therationalnational or therationalnational.com/join.